Hello and welcome to Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio. This is Stefan, your host, British by birth, American by choice. The Founding Fathers crafted some remarkable documents that led to the creation of a great country founded on liberty and self-reliance. I have lived in the Euro-socialist nightmare, and I'm doing what I can to return this country to the vision that the Founding Fathers gave us. We need to strive to rebuild that shining city on the hill, for without us, the world has nowhere to turn for freedom. For the next hour, I will be presenting news, views, and guests that help keep the true spirit of America alive. And yes, folks, here we go again. This is Stefan, your Patriot Come Lately, British by birth, but American by choice. And proud to be here behind the microphone, welcoming you to episode 332 of Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio. Once again, lots has happened this week, but the focus for this week is really looking forward and wondering why we even bother to vote. You might say, well, yeah, why do we? Because we vote people into office. But the big question is, do we actually do so? So I'll be talking about that a little bit later in the show. Before we start, want to say hi to Paul and David, who have joined us in the chat room. David, I believe, comes from St. Louis and got a couple of things in the show. Hopefully, if I can squeeze them in, that he sent me. And Paul, of course, a regular listener. Welcome, Paul. I want to especially thank you for coming tonight, and especially thank you. I got a nice email today which showed that you'd visited my website, and I really appreciate the little action that you took at the website there. Very, very much appreciated, and this will certainly help keep the show going. And Rex has also joined us from Sin City. Hi there, guys. Pleased to meet you. And for David, being the newbie in the chat room, get ready. It can be quite a ride, especially with Rex and Paul there. Anyway, so what have we got this week? As I said, why do we even bother to vote is the main topic. But before I start there, there's been a lot of things in the press about the so-called play for pay deals that Hillary's been arranging through her and the Clinton Foundation and the State Department. So I wanted to give you some a very specific example of one of these really corrupt situations that Hillary Clinton got into. And all the left are saying, oh, but there's nothing there and there's no proof that she did anything wrong. Right. And dog excrement doesn't smell. Yeah, right. So, how about this one? When she was Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton was publicly defending an embattled banker during an official visit to Bangladesh, while behind the scenes, Clinton Foundation officials were trying to steer money from a large Abu Dhabi oil company into the banker's coffers. The payment, which was by a company called TAQA, which was formerly the Abu Dhabi National Energy Company, and which is owned, I think, 70+% by the Abu Dhabi government. The payment was supposed to go to someone called Muhammad Yunus, who has the Grameen Bank. He is a longtime friend and Clinton Foundation donor. The oil company deal eventually put as much as $500,000 into Slick Willie's pockets via a speaking fee he got in Scotland. There's a complicated set of international transactions around this, and they're contained in a cryptic email chain between Cheryl Mills, who was Hillary Clinton's chief of staff, and Amitma Desai, the Clinton Foundation's foreign policy director. Now, these are emails that have been obtained through FOIA requests, and it is unbelievable what happened. So TAQA is a huge oil and gas company. It operates in a number of countries, not just Abu Dhabi, but also places like Canada and the US. And they won a number of blanket agreements with the Obama administration to import billions of cubic feet of natural gas from Canada into the United States. Now, interesting. Hillyer is always talking about fighting for climate change, and so is Bill. But they're making money off of an oil company. Isn't that kind of hypocritical? Now, the email chain between Cheryl Mills and Amit Desai is not unique. There have been many other examples, and the Department of State estimated the number of emails between Hillary's key members, so the top members of her State Department, and Clinton Foundation officials includes more than 12,000 separate communications. And I wonder if that includes the, 15,000 that just came to light today or yesterday. So, 12,000 separate communications. And you say there was, and these were all talking about their grandkids, right? Like they did on the plane with Slick Willie. 12,000 separate communications. And you are telling me there was no collusion, no arrangements between the foundation, which was receiving money, and getting things done at state? Oh, just absolutely unbelievable. Well, the State Department had requested to release those 12,000 emails over a 27-month period. But U.S. District Judge Rudolph Kateris said most of them, the majority of them, have to be released by November 4th, which will be just days before the election. And the ones that they have received to date really show how corrupt everything was. It starts off with the foundation officials trying to complete a deal being offered by a TAQA managing director in Scotland to give $60,000 to the foundation for Bill to speak at a charity and auction. The winner of the auction was to get a special day with President Bill Clinton in New York. The foundation accepted the $60,000. Bill went to Scotland, where he received an additional somewhere between $250,000 and $500,000 for his speech. It was at a fundraising event, a black tie dinner, which was to raise funds for Muhammad Yunus and his Grameen Bank. Now, remember, Yunus is a longtime friend of the Clintons, going back as far as Bill's time as the governor of Arkansas. And he's been a featured speaker at the annual Clinton Global Initiative Celebrity Galas in New York. He's been a speaker there a number of times. His Grameen America Foundation donated between $100,000 and $250,000, according to the Clinton Foundation website. Makes him quite a cheapskate if you think about it. Because actually, well, before we go to that, so he's awarded some money to the Clinton Foundation. They're scratching his back by helping him at a fundraising dinner. And surprisingly enough, the U.S. Agency for International Development, or as it's known, USAID, which is a State Department division, also awarded millions of grant dollars to Yunus and his allies. Mixing official State Department business and actions with Clinton fundraising is a huge red flag. Yeah, like 12,000 emails between the State Department and the Clinton Foundation. That is a huge red flag. So where's the special prosecutor that Donald Trump's been calling for? Where's the investigation by the FBI? Oh, I forgot. It's the Clintons. The Clintons. They don't have to follow the law. Now, the relationship between Clinton, Cheryl Mills, Abu Dhabi, is one that's also been existing for a long time. Mills negotiated a deal between New York University and Abu Dhabi while she was at the State Department. This is something that also created an uproar amongst Republicans in Congress. Did anything happen? No. Bill earned, so now you're going to see why I said 100,000 to 250,000 is chump change that Mohammed Yusuf had paid to the Clinton Foundation, because Slick Willie earned a further $15 million in a hedge fund deal with a business partner, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum. He's the United Arab Emirates authoritarian ruler. And he also collected an additional $5.6 million to serve as honorary chairman of a Dubai-based for-profit network of Islamic K-12 schools throughout the world. By the way, the curriculum featured in those schools includes instruction on Sharia law, which, remember, is at the heart of Islamic terrorist ideologies behind groups like Islamic State, Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, whatever. So there we are, 15 million plus another 5.6 million for doing virtually nothing. Do you really think that Bill got that 5.6 million just for being honorary chairman, or was it to pass messages across to Hillary and get things at the State Department smoothed over for these people? Yeah. Bill collected another $1 million for 2 speeches. So he's right up there at the top of the list, $500,000 per speech. And they were paid for by the royal government again, while Hillary was Secretary of State. Now, Clinton, Slick Willie, his speeches took place in the country at the same time, so in Abu Dhabi, the same time that the United Arab Emirates, at the same time that the State Department and the Department of Homeland Security were deliberating on opening a U.S. facility there to clear passengers traveling to America before they get on the plane and not afterwards. The State Department, when they put it out for comments, got a lot of opposition from the unions, but they just overruled it. I thought that the Democrats were the unions' party, but they overruled it. I guess money trumps everything, doesn't it? Okay, folks, I see that it's time for Mary's favorite part of the evening, and I have to say hi to Mary. Good evening, Mary. Haven't seen you for a while. Nice that you're back. And, of course, it's time for your favorite part of the show, and that is the commercials. So especially for you, here they come.
You can lose 10, 20, 30 pounds or more with Maximum Slim's first ever rapid weight loss guarantee. Today, you get Maximum Slim, an advanced fat and carb blocker, absolutely risk-free. The all-natural ingredients in Maximum Slim are a powerful weight loss combination. The Maximum Slim formula turns your body into a fat-burning furnace that supercharges your weight loss. Advanced fat and carb blocker stops the breakdown of sugar so your body doesn't store it as fat. Today, you'll get both of these products absolutely risk-free with no obligation. Only pay shipping. There are no expensive meal plans or exhausting DVDs. Just take Maximum Slim twice a day. It's fast, simple, and now it's guaranteed. Look, you can start losing weight today or not. Go back to your high school days and wear your favorite jeans again. Guaranteed. Call now and get both weight loss formulas free. Call 800-451-0228. 800-451-0228. That's 800-451-0228.
Doc, you gotta give it to me straight.
All right.
'Cause I'm dying here. I mean, take a look at this letter from the IRS.
Oh, my.
This is killing me, Doc. I tell you, it's killing me.
Cheer up, my friend.
Huh?
The tax doctor is here. My diagnosis tells me that you're going to be just fine.
Really?
The tax doctor will not rest until we find you the best possible tax settlement.
Really, Doc?
Guaranteed.
If the IRS claims you owe them $10,000 or more in business or personal back taxes, call a tax doctor right now. We could save you up to 75% if you qualify. Guaranteed or you pay nothing. Call right now for free details.
800-917-8546. 800-917-8546. 800-917-8546. That's 800-917-8546.
You're listening to Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio, broadcast on the internet, and also available at archives.patrickcomelately.us, a proud member of the Red Nation Rising Radio Network. And folks, I'm back. Just wanted to remind you that that last little bumper there, Red Nation Rising Radio Network. I'm no longer with Red State anymore, but with the Red Nation Rising, and it is being very, very successful. Remember, you can listen to other programs on the Red Nation Rising network via my website. Go to the syndication page, click on the R&R graphic there, and that'll take you to their main website, and they have 2 streams going at once, so always a good choice of very interesting and very outspoken conservative hosts at Red Nation Rising. And remember, do support us by using the Red Nation Rising hashtag when you tweet anything conservative. It is one of Twitter's most popular hashtags. I understand in the month of July they had over 1 billion uses of the hashtag. It is amazing how much that hashtag gets used. So that's good. Well, before the break, we were talking about just one specific example of how the Clintons just misusing the State Department and Bill to just greedily suck in money any way they can. And I think one of the good questions is, this came from the Citizens United president. He said, what was the priority for Hillary Clinton's staff at the State Department? International diplomacy for the American people or international fundraising for her family foundation? I think the answer to that is pretty easy, but I'll leave that to you. So I'd like to start talking about the main topic for this evening, and as I titled the show, Why Do We Even Bother to Vote? You can guess has something to do with voting. Last week, I was listening to let's say a non-political podcast or program that I like to listen to. I've mentioned this on the show a few times before. Like to listen to Coast to Coast. I don't normally listen to it live when it's broadcast because it's broadcast in the middle of the night. But I do listen to the podcast, to the recordings, often when I'm in the gym, because the show, with all the commercials stripped out, lasts about 40 minutes, and my exercise routine lasts about 35. So it's a nice match. And they had a visitor on, a lady called Bev Harris, and this was probably about a week or two weeks ago. And she was talking about black box voting, and she actually has a website called blackboxvoting.org. Now, what exactly is black box voting? It basically signifies voting on voting machines which do not disclose how they operate, and it was actually a term which was described by Dr. Arnold Erkin of the Stevens Institute of Technology. It comes obviously from technical jargon in the use of the term black box, which is a device or a system object which you don't know what's going on inside, but you just know what's going in and what's coming out. Now, Bev Harris uses this a lot, and she wrote a book with that title. And the formal definition that she and David Allen, who was co-writer to her book, said, any voting system in which the mechanisms for recording and or tabulating the vote are hidden from the voter and or the mechanism lacks a tangible record of the vote cast. Now, I have mentioned this in the past, the fact that with all these electronic voting systems, that they are easy to modify, they are easy to hack, and therefore it's easy to make changes to them. And I said one of the simplest answers is, as you know, you type in on a touch screen or whatever you do to get your vote in, and when you're done, you press a button, here's my vote, it takes that information, and it produces two pieces of paper. One is one that you take and you can look and confirm what's on the piece of paper is what you voted, and the second piece of paper, perhaps a duplicate, a copy, like they do in the credit card machines, is printed exactly the same, and that goes into a box that is available for any checkup later if they think was anything wrong with the tallying that went on in the machine. Now, that's a very simple way to make it safer, you would think. But it seems that many states are actually passing laws that do away with any kind of backup like that, so paper printed backup, and also getting rid of logs and audit trails on things that go on in the machine. What's going on, folks? What's going on? So, and people are saying even the mechanical machines where you basically did actually pull a lever, or a lever as you say here in America, and punch a hole in something, even then, unless you see where the hole is being punched, you don't really know when you pull, turn the lever to point to one thing, whether or not it's actually pointing to what you want to vote for. So that's why it is also a black box system, right? And some judge in Rhode Island wrote of one early mechanical voting machine that a voter on this voting machine has no knowledge through his senses that he has accomplished a result. The most that can be said is, if the machine is working as intended, then he has made his holes and voted. But the judge then said that that was not enough. Now with these electronic machines, it is unbelievable. Now, people who support these things say, well, we put the source code out. For a lot of them, they're what's called open source, but a lot of them as well are actually proprietary. The companies say, no, this is stuff that we've developed. We don't want to turn this into an open source system, so we're going to keep a tight lid on this so you don't know what's going on in the machines. Now, in 2004, 32% of the voting was done on optical scan machines. If I remember rightly, that's what they're still doing a lot in Florida. And again, there you do have a record because you mark it on the optical scan, it goes through, and then they can keep the optical scan. They have something that they can check up on. But it turns out that Florida is saying, no, let's get, once they've been processed by the machine, destroy the optical paper. For what reason? Why wouldn't you want to have a checkup? And in 2004, 29% were on electronic machines, which don't even have the paper. Now, some congressmen have tried to introduce legislation to say that there should be public access to the source code, to the hardware, and even firmware information. Firmware is kind of that stuff on the computer which is not like a program that you would run on your computer, but it's actually what drives the computer. So you've got three things there. You've got the program that does the tallying, you've got the hardware, right, the screen, etc., and then you've got the firmware, which is kind of part of the hardware, but it's software that's built into the machine. And they've tried to introduce a law to do that. Never gets passed. Both the left and the right have no support for that. Why would that be? Could it be that these guys are trying to carry out voter fraud? Now, like I said, Florida has taken steps to get rid of paper trails. Texas has done that, removing the audit, the paper trails, and in Texas it's being done by an administrative ruling by the Secretary of State there, who is the normal, in most states, is the person responsible for the voting. Now, why might that be? Well, we're going to wait until after this next break, and then I want to talk a little bit about that, because, again, this is something that I mentioned, I think, over a year ago, why that might be, and we'll see. Anyway, here we go.
Patriot come lately. British by birth. American by choice. Just like the Founding Fathers. The voice of the conservative resistance.
This is Stefan, your Patriot come lately, proud to be on Red Nation Rising Radio. These can be dark and depressing times, but Main Street USA finally has a competitive voice to traditional mainstream media outlets. And it's screaming at all hours, 24/7, we want our country back. America, it's time to wake up, expose the regressives, and keep listening to the new dominant force in conservative internet talk radio, the Red Nation Rising Radio Network, powered by ICRN.
Not too long ago, it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank, didn't it? For a vacation or a new car. But today, withdrawing your own cash has become risky. Pat Boone here for Swiss America. According to The Secret War, a new Swiss America white paper, I learned that all banks are now required to spy on you and me for the government, and then report any financial behavior deemed suspicious or unusual. You must read The Secret War. It's free. Truth is, I believe the government's new war against cash is really a war against us all. But the secret is now out. So please, get and read The Secret War.
Call 800-516-3405. 800-516-3405. 800-516-3405. Call right now. That number again is 800-516-3405.
You're listening to Patriot Come Lately Talk Radio, broadcast on the internet, and also available at archives.patriotcomelately.us, a proud member of the Red Nation Rising Radio Network. Okay, folks, that was just our little short break there. We're talking about black box voting, and I do want to recommend that you go to the site that I mentioned earlier on, right? blackboxvote.org. This is a site that was set up by a lady called Bev Harris. She's an American writer, activist, and she has also an organization called Black Box Voting Inc., which is a national, nonpartisan, nonprofit elections watchdog group. She has written a book on the title. You can actually go to the website that I mentioned and download the book. I've read parts of it. I've also ordered a paperback version of it because I want to carry it around. It is scary, folks. Her investigative work has been featured in many newspapers, all the LSM and other news channels. And in 2006, HBO had a documentary called Hacking Democracy, which used a lot of stuff that she'd found out. And she investigated some of the machines. She's investigated different kinds of results at elections. For example, in Florida, in Volusia County, there were some very strange results came out, and they actually went dumpster diving and found some of the paper audit trails, which were being thrown away. As I said, there was no requirement to keep them. And what was coming out of the paper audit trails indicated that there were differences between the numbers that were being presented and what was on the paper audit trails. In her investigation, she has also managed to find copies of the source code. One or two companies have tried to indict her on the fact that she or people related to her hacked into their computers, but it's never been proven. But she has been investigated a number of times. But it's just really scary about everything that goes on. And she's also been invited by a supervisor of elections to come in and do some tests on the machines that county were using. And her group, this Black Box Voting Inc., where she has technical people as well, was able to prove that the machines were not secure and could be hacked, and the results altered very easily. She also discovered that in a Freedom of Information request for some of the audit records, that the information that was provided was incorrect, and this is when she found some of the original records in the garbage at a Volusia County warehouse. So Volusia County was basically giving her BS information, and she went and they did the dumpster driving, and they found they found out the truth. So, I mean, folks, we complain about foreigners and illegals voting, but this is just as bad. And quite frankly, if you look at all this stuff, if you read it, you would definitely say, hey, you know, why am I even bothering to vote? Because basically it seems anyone can go in and switch the results, and there are ways to do this that they can do it so it's not totally off kilter, but just enough to swing the results. Now, as I said earlier, it isn't just Republicans that are worried about the left cooking the books, but the left worries about and claims that Republicans cook the books as well. There was I had a transcript of an interview between Harvey Wasserman, who's a vocal critic of these EVMs or electronic voting machines, and he wrote, or he was co-author on a book called What Happened in Ohio, a documentary record of theft and fraud in the 2004 election. So he still says that that electronic voting was used to steal the presidential election in Ohio, because he says John Kerry was the rightful winner over George W. Bush, but the Republican Secretary of State and the governor used their electronic vote count to flip the vote to W from John Kerry. Harvey says, we did the accounting, and we watched it totally right up close and are able to prove it. In addition to the electronic voting, he is claiming one way the Republicans do it is stripping the voter rolls, especially African Americans, Hispanics, in other words, people who normally vote progressive. Well, he's a left-winger, so he's obviously complaining about that. Of course, he conveniently forgets all the dead people that vote. But he's complaining because he says this year, right, we've got 6 key swing states: Florida, North Carolina, Ohio, Michigan, Iowa, and Arizona, and they have Republican governors and Republican secretaries of state, and no method of verifying the electronic vote count. Now, he doesn't mention Texas, and that, to me, is very interesting. So that must mean, because they've got a Republican governor, but that must mean they have a Democrat Secretary of State. Now, the Secretaries of State are very important. And this is something I mentioned on the show, I think a year, maybe 2 years ago. And this was something, I was talking about something that I'd heard George Soros had set up. And this was one of his groups, was basically setting up a plan to make sure that as many secretaries of state were Democrats. And a lot of people said, well, why would he bother with that? Don't you want to have Democrat governors or lieutenant governors, senators, etc.? But remember what Karl Marx said. It's not who votes that counts, it's who counts the votes that matters. The Secretaries of State are ultimately responsible for the vote counting. They have control over all of that, and they can make adjustments to change the votes. Now, the person interviewing Harvey Wasserman said, well, didn't do this in 2008 because Obama won. And Harvey Wasserman claims, yes, they did. It's just that he had so many votes. He was so far ahead, they couldn't manipulate it enough without it being obvious, and couldn't flip enough states to let Romney win. Now, Harvey Wasserman believes that Obama won by well over 10 million votes. The final count was officially somewhere between 7 and 8 million. But he's claiming that, probably about 2.5 million votes might have been flipped with that. Part of his proof is the fact that exit polls, which are supposed to be accurate within 1%, often have quite big variations with the electronic outcome. So he's saying, as I said, on the left, how they do that. And there are so many investigations into that. So what can you do about it? Well, he says basically we have to have universal hand-counted paper ballots. And this is something that Bernie Sanders was actually pushing for. They also talk about automatic voter registration, motor voter. Yeah. But does that include dead people, right? They are the left. But I think that hand-counted paper ballots is taking things a little too far. But if you have a good paper trail, if you can put it in the machine, but you can get a piece of paper, you can compare and say, yeah, this is what I voted. You take one copy goes in the box. If there's any doubt about the results from any one area, they can go back to the boxes and count. I just can't understand why both left and right seem to be getting rid of all these checks and balances and audits if they're not doing it so that they can perpetrate voter fraud. Okay, think about that one, folks. And in the meanwhile, it's time for another commercial, I'm afraid. I will be back after these messages.
Hello, Americans. It's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more on your federal or state income taxes, I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. The IRS, with their Fresh Start initiative, is offering more flexible terms to Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. They can help you lift your wage garnishments, stop bank levies, and put your tax problem behind you once and for all. If you owe tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS or state, our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, we can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your debt for far less than what you owe. 800-357-8110. 800-357-8110. 800-357-8110. 800-357-8110.
The offer of a franchise can only be made through delivery of a franchise disclosure document. Imagine yourself being a leader in America's fastest growing demographic category. More than 10,000 people a day turn 65, and a large percentage are going to need a helping hand at home or in choosing the right assisted living community. Always Best Care is looking for people who've excelled at everything they've done, but they're seeking a new challenge. Always Best Care is one of the fastest growing companies in this explosive field. We're looking for 25 new franchisees to keep our booming business growing. We'll back you up with the strongest award-winning marketing program in the industry, and we'll provide the special training and support that's fueled our growth to prepare you for this great opportunity. All that's missing is you. Call Always Best Care toll-free at 1-800-643-7508. That's 1-800-643-7508. For Always Best Care, 1-800-643-7508. Call today.
You're listening to Patriot Come Lately Talk Radio, broadcast on the internet, and also available at archives.patrickcomelately.us, a proud member of the Red Nation Rising radio network. Okay, folks, we're into the final segment of the show. The time has been going very quickly, but kind of scary this week with this all this stuff about the voting. And it's not the first time I've heard this either. In actual fact, I had a guest also a couple of years ago, the lawyer, what was her name, Taziz or something, that was doing a lot of the Obama birther stuff, or Thais, I think her name was. And but she mentioned as well, she said, these electronic voting machines, she said, and she was from Russia, and she said, the Russians can hack into these things easy as pie. So anyway, however, I think we need a little bit of, for the final part of the show, we need a little bit of light relief. So I want to thank David for these. David, I think you sent me to these, and I know they do come from the UK, but these are signs, actual signs that have been found in different places. So you want a bit of a smile, just listen to these. So, here a quick news flash, at least for people listening live. Apparently, there's been a 6.2 earthquake in Italy. So this brings the circle round, because if you remember, the earthquake in Haiti was something that I reported on one of my very, very early shows. So here's another one. Yeah, so a big earthquake in Italy, folks. That'll be on the news tomorrow. Okay. So back to the humor. Sign number 1: toilet out of order. Please use floor below. Think about it. Here's one that was seen in a laundromat. Automatic washing machines. Please remove all your clothes when the light goes out. Yeah, think about that one. This one really is an interesting one. It was in a London department store. It says, bargain basement upstairs. Bargain basement. Okay, whatever. Sign in an office. Would the person who took the step ladder yesterday please bring it back, or further steps will be taken? Another office one. After tea break, staff should empty the teapot and stand upside down on the draining board. Well, if you insist, sir. Outside a second-hand shop. I love this one. We exchange anything. Bicycles, washing machines, etc. Why not bring your wife along and get a wonderful bargain? Or how about the health food shop window? Had a sign in it, closed due to illness. Or the sign in the safari park, another good one. Elephants, please stay in your car. I just hope the elephants can read. Seen during a conference, a sign that said, for anyone who has children and doesn't know it, there is a daycare on the first floor. Interesting. If you don't know you have children, though, how are you going to take them to daycare? I know. Okay. And this is also a very good one. This was a sign in a farmer's field. And as you know, in the UK, it's pretty normal to have paths that cross across farmers' fields. There's a right of way there, but there could be any sort of animals in the field. So this farmer put a sign up that says, the farmer allows walkers to cross the field for free, but the bull charges. I like that one. Message on a leaflet. If you cannot read, this leaflet will tell you how to get lessons. Oh, maybe that's the one that we should use for the elephants in the car. Talk about irony. On a repair shop door, big sign, we can repair anything. Underneath that, a piece of paper. Please knock hard on the door, the bell does not work. Headline in newspaper. Man kills self before shooting wife and daughter. And apparently somebody read this, called up the editor, and they had to read it to him 3 times before the editor realized that it was wrong. They did publish a correction. Another headline in a paper. Something went wrong in jet crash, expert says. Well, duh. Another one. Police begin campaign to run down jaywalkers. That's a little drastic, isn't it? Or how about this? Above and beyond, right? Panda mating fails. Veterinarian takes over. Or another one. A bunch of lazy you-know-whats. The miners refuse to work after death. Or, if you really want to say that justice is getting heavy-handed, how about this headline? Juvenile court to try shooting defendant. Sorry, that should be pronounced juvenile court to try shooting defendant. But you get the gist. Or how about the obvious? War dims hope for peace. If strike isn't settled quickly, it may last a while. Cold wave linked to temperatures. Enfield couple slain. Police suspect homicide. And then, how about this? Red tape holds up new bridges. So I guess that's some kind of new duct tape that's used to hold up the bridges. Or how about man struck by lightning faces battery charge? And as the commentator said, he probably is the battery charge. New study of obesity looks for larger test group. Why? Aren't they fat enough already? Astronaut takes blame for gas in spacecraft. That's what you get for eating all those beans. And then kids make nutritious snacks. Do they taste like chicken? Or local high school dropouts cut in half. Aha! It's the chainsaw massacre all over again. Hospitals are sued by 7-foot doctors. Boy, are they tall. Well, folks, little bit of a laugh there to close out the show. Hope you enjoyed that. It is coming to the end of the show. Time really rushed along this time. But I'm glad you were here. David, thanks for joining us, and everybody else in the chat room, thanks for joining me. The music is starting, so I will say TTFN. Please join me next week and have fun till then. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the show. I hope that you enjoyed tonight's topics. Whether you listened live, to a recording, or to a rebroadcast, I appreciate the time you share with me. We need to spread the message of liberty far and wide, so please tell your friends and family about the show. Thank you for helping to keep the beacon of hope burning. This is Stefan, your Patrick Come Lately, signing off. God bless America, and remember, L3, long live liberty.